Hey guys, welcome to the Hooligan Chronicles. This is going to be a podcast interview type of conversation that I'm going to be having with my guests. And what's the difference between Hooligan Chronicles and all the other crap that you've been watching up until now? Is the fact that we are very real. Lee doesn't know what I'm going to ask him. Fuck, I don't know what I'm going to ask him. Although I'm lying because I actually wrote it down because it's Lee fucking Priest. So, you got to prepare for this shit. Plus, you don't know what he's going to say. So, this has been in the works for a while now because, I have no filter. And when I asked you guys who you want to be of my very first guest, well, he's sitting right here, Lee Priest. Welcome to the very first episode. Glad having you. Happy
Thank
to have you.
Very first and could be the last.
Well, it could be the last because this fucking.
I even put on a nice shirt today. Look.
You look so handsome.
Does it have number 22, like for inches of my arms? Is that what it's got 22 for?
That was our thinking when we made the.
I thought so. Guy Sistinanes must have like fucking 16 right on his sleeve.
Well, if it was Guy Sistinanes, there would be 02, not 22.
0.22.
So guys, let's get right to it. I mean, first of all, Lee, welcome. I'm honored to have you as a guest, and to be honest, I was nervous about it because I'm a huge fan of bodybuilding. Obviously, I judge some NPC shows. I promoted some shows. I own one of the top hardcore bodybuilding gyms in the United States. But nevertheless, when it comes to you, funny story, of course, you're not going to remember this. My very first Mr. Olympia that I attended was 1998 Mr. Olympia. I have a picture somewhere, and the only photo that I have is actually a photo with you.
No, well, you got the best one. What more do you
need? I didn't need anything else. But the funny thing is, I'm not kidding you, because, well, I'm not that tall either. I'm like 5'7", 5'8", but standing next to you, I remember running around with that photo and I was saying, look, I'm bigger than Lee Priest.
Yeah. You know what it was? You said, I'm going to go have a photo with the white guy in the lineup. And I was the only white guy.
That was a very memorable event because, number one, you were, and I'm not just saying it, you were always one of my favorite bodybuilders. But on top of it, to witness Ronnie Coleman, of course, winning his first Mr. Olympia. I mean, that was a very, very iconic show that we all enjoyed. I mean, obviously, we had the rightful winner. You obviously need no introduction because you're a legendary bodybuilder. You're a legend of the sport. I mean, you never actually announced your retirement, I think. But
I think the car accident, sort of the stupid women drivers, it sort of forced me into retirement. So.
Yeah, that's true. But nevertheless, if we can say that you retired, I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah.
But it's been
let's say semi-retired.
Semi-retired. Does that mean we can see you still on stage?
Well, I never say no, because if I say no, then you do it. They say, you said you never fucking do it again. You fucking lied, blah, blah, blah. So I say never. So.
Oh, you still look fucking jacked. I mean, you still look like you could do it. But nevertheless, I mean, we obviously don't have to go about all your accomplishments. Obviously, you turned pro at a very young age. If I'm not mistaken, 19, 20?
Yeah, 19, just turned 20, yeah. And, well, I started competing when I was 13 and won my first ever bodybuilding shows when I was 13 years old. So, yeah, been at it a while.
And if I'm not mistaken, you also competed with your mom.
Yeah, that was like
right?
Yeah, I just won the Mr. Australia. I was 17 when I won my first national title. And my mum's like, if I get in shape, would you do the couples with me? And, at 17, I'm like, fuck, I don't want to be seen dead with my mum on stage. And my mum was like me. She enjoys all the good food. I won't say junk food because it's, the good food, donuts and ice cream. So my mum was always a little bit heavy. I thought she'd never get in shape. I'm like, yeah, you get in shape, I'll do it. Sure enough, 8 months later, she fucking got in shape and she won the Miss Newcastle and state title, and we did the couples. And we were the first mother and son in the world to actually compete together and win a national title together.
And was it love at first sight? Like, were you hooked on bodybuilding? Was it something?
No, I never got into it to be a pro. My main reason was, when I was younger, I loved Superman. My mum called me Lee after Lee Majors, the $6 million man. So I always liked strength. And then when He-Man cartoon came on TV, I'm like, wow, I want to look like He-Man. So I've never been one of these people where, I get messages all the time, Lee, I want to be Mr. Olympia or this or that. You look at their picture, you're like, oh, fuck me dead. You're not even going to win a darts tournament, you dumb fuck. So, but like if you tell them that, they're like, how about you start at a little show and then work your way up? But they want to go straight to Olympia. And I never had that. I just enjoyed weight training. And as I took it up at a young age and developed early, people said, maybe you should try doing a show. And I'm like, I've always been shy. Even like now I'm shy. People don't believe it. But if someone was to meet me and say hello, I pretty much just hi. Until I get to know someone, I'm pretty quiet. So, yes, and when, I did other sports, but I didn't like it because people looked at me. I did karate. When you go for your grading, everyone's just looking at you. I'm like, fuck, I hate being stared at. And then I did, like, my uncle was a magician. So for like 2 years, I went to magician school to do tricks. And when I went on stage, I'm thinking, I'm going to fuck the trick up and I'll see how it's done. So I quit that. So when I finally told my mum, I'm going to give bodybuilding a go and go on stage, she's like, you're going to walk out on stage in like your underwear in front of people, are you? So I gave it a go. And like I said, I never really, even when I was professional, I never really loved the competing side. The best part about competing was you get to travel to the expos and meet the fans and stuff. But the actual competing side, it's like, I don't know, I never really liked it due to politics back in the day. And then even some of your competitors would have egos and hate that you beat them. I'm like, fuck, it's like, we're the same. We all compete. If you're better than me, you beat me, you beat me. If I beat you, who gives a shit? But, some take it personal and get all upset, especially in today's age with the internet. You give some sort of criticism today and they and it's like, you're a fucking grown man, like fucking 5'10", you weigh 280, but you're acting like a little fucking girl because somebody said you're soft. It's like, fuck off. Maybe you need to up your testosterone a bit because everyone's so sensitive now online. It's like, fuck me dead.
You know what? It's interesting that you brought up about being shy. And I actually told somebody recently, I said, I met Lee a couple of times at different shows. And when you approach him, he's very, very quiet, very reserved, and very shy. So I know for a fact that that's a fact. You're definitely not lying about that. And, we know some celebrities, like, for example, Al Pacino. Everybody knows that in real life, he's very reserved and very shy.
Yeah.
He barely says anything. But then when the camera is rolling, he comes out alive and stuff like that. So the fact that, you're very outspoken, you don't hold back, you always tell the truth and you call it what it is, at the same time being shy. My question is, when it comes to bodybuilding, like you said, today a lot of bodybuilders, and even back in the day, used to complain and bitch, Sean Ray. I've never, there were many times where fans would say that Lee Priest got screwed and he should have placed higher. I don't remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, you ever complaining about your placing.
No, I never did. Because to me it was like, look, I think I ended up one Olympia where I had the long hair and I didn't want to do it.
Because, I remember that.
If you're not 100%,
2001, 2002?
2002, yeah.
2002.
I was dieting for it, but, a couple of weeks in, I'm like, fuck it. If you're not 100% in your head, your body's not going to follow. So I was getting ready, then I wasn't. Then I'd eat McDonald's and I'd go off. So I finally just put a post. I think this was back in the day when we only had like Get Big Forum and stuff like that. I put up a post saying, listen, I'm going to go to the Olympia, but I just don't have it mentally. And fuck, my fans went off. We're coming to see you. You better do it, blah, blah, blah. So I ended up doing it. Then they're like, how dare you go on stage looking like that, letting us down? I'm like, oh, fuck, I told you. I can't win. So, yeah, but apart from that one, I always gave it 100% when it came to diet, cardio and that. So when I got on stage, to me, like when I got top 6, my first Olympia, I got 5th, but then they moved me to 6th after the show with that debacle. And then I think I got top 6 4 times. And to me, back in that era when I'm up against, like I said, Dorian or Flex Wheeler, Ronnie Coleman and that, being in the top 6 of that group was like a win. And then, the San Francisco Pro, I won. Chris was 2nd and Dexter was 3rd. And then a lot of European tours, I think 4 of them I placed 3rd. It was Kevin, Nasser and me. And then Dillette, then Ronnie and everybody else. So, I sort of held my own. So I was happy. People still say to me now, you're a fucking has-been. You never won the Olympia. I'm like, yeah, but I never said I would. I was never one of these guys who said, I'm going to the Olympia to win it. Kevin got mad at me backstage once when I was tanning him up. He's like, how are you going to go, Lee? I said, I'm just here to do my best. That's not the attitude. You got to go in to win. I said, Kevin, mate, I'm in touch with fucking reality here. I know I'm never going to win the Olympia. To me, back then, if you got top 10, you're qualified. That's why I think some of those Mitsuru videos, you'll see me training while he's talking to me. I'm like, don't talk to me. I'm training for 8th place right now, stuff like that. And people go, how can you say that? I'm like, because to me, I always had my eyes set on number 10. What are you going to place? 10th. So if I got 8th or 7th or 6th, my head was set on 10th place. So anything above that to me was a bonus. So I couldn't care less. So it's like, I just had fun. But like I said, mainly competing was for your sponsor, that they wanted you to compete and that sort of thing. And then, once you're in shape, it's good for the photo shoots. But yeah, I was never complained about my placing. I'm like, yeah, thank you. Because generally when I got the placing, the crowd was always unhappy and booing and yelling bullshit. So
I actually remember
yeah,
that
yeah,
because I used to live in Brooklyn, in New York, and I
okay.
remember we went to the Night of Champions,
Oh
and
yeah.
I remember you placed 5th, and
Yeah,
I
and the
thought
crowd went, oh
we're
yeah.
gonna fucking have a riot. I
Uh-huh.
remember the audience went absolutely crazy
I
because,
know.
I mean, myself included, everybody thought you would win that show
Yeah.
because you looked fucking unreal. And when they
Mm-hmm.
announced 5th place Lee Priest,
All I heard was
the
boos, and then it
audience,
went into
I've
just
never seen
this.
anything like it.
Yeah,
I've never seen
all I heard
anything.
was like this boo, It got louder and louder. Then it just went into a bullshit chant, like bullshit,
It was
bullshit,
crazy. I mean, it was
and they kept going too. It's like I thought they would have stopped, but even when they announced Jay Cutler as the winner, they were still booing and yelling
They still
bullshit.
won because everybody thought you won the show. I mean, you were absolutely peeled at that show. I mean, you were always in shape. Apart from that 2002, I was actually at that show in, I think it was in Mandalay Bay, if I'm not mistaken. No, it
Mhm.
was already Orleans. I think
Oh
it
yeah,
was Orleans. Because at Mandalay Bay, they had, I think, 2 or 3 years. So they had 99 and maybe
yeah.
2000.
My
So
first one I did was '97, and that was at Long Beach. My
that
first
was the
Olympia I
first
could
one.
have done was in '95. Actually, I would have been the youngest to do it, but guess what? I got suspended and couldn't do it.
Well,
Imagine
that
that.
actually, you know what? That's actually perfect setup for a second question. And since I promised everybody that we're not going to hold back, there's going to
Mhm.
be no filter or anything like that. I'm going to jump in into one of the most uh, probably controversial questions when it comes to you. Again, for somebody who is rather shy, I admit you are. You definitely are. From few interactions that I've had with you, very shy, very reserved. Very quiet, and I like that about you, to be honest.
Yeah.
But outside that, somehow either your physique or your answers when you give interviews or your personality, there was
Mhm.
always a lot of noise around you. You were
Yeah.
always not viewed as a bad boy necessarily, but
Mhm.
you were viewed as somebody. I can't even say a troublemaker, but there was always a lot of noise
Yeah.
around you.
They would call me that. They would call me a troublemaker in the bad way,
Well, I
which I
would
could
understand.
never understand
Uh,
because growing up, I remember I lied to my mother once, and she gave me a flog, and I got the jug cord, I got the wooden spoon, and she goes, "No matter what, you always tell the truth, and doesn't matter if we don't like or whatever." She goes, so I forget how she worded it, but always just be truthful. So I'm like, okay, so I always have been, and that's the thing with the
That's the
bodybuilding.
reason why I think like this question probably I know that if I would ask anyone else, they might tell me no comment, but I'm gonna go right and ask you the weight fluctuations.
Hmm.
I remember you would balloon to somebody who doesn't look exactly like he goes to the gym, and you would look. I think you would go up to 300 pounds or something like that.
Around 285, I think was my head.
285, which was a lot. And I mean, you didn't look off season, you were fat. And
Yeah,
you did not hide that fact, like you were admitting it. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
fat. Yeah, I like KFC. I like donuts. I
Mhm.
like all that. And actually, people, I think, admired you for that because
Well,
you were doing something
I
that you
just,
wanted to do.
I
But
just wanted to show that I'm just normal. It's like, yes, when I compete, I have to do a certain thing and
exactly, you
diet
have
down.
to look a
But
certain way the day of the
yeah,
show.
yeah. But off season, I said, you know what? Off season, I'm a normal person. I want to go hang out. If I want to eat ice cream all week, I'll eat it. It doesn't mean I eat it all the time. I might eat, like, even when I was heaviest, I might have had chicken and rice, but then an hour later, a container of fucking Kentucky chicken, and then I might have had steak and vegetables, but then after that, a big thing of ice cream. So I'd eat good, but I'd also eat whatever I want in between because generally around Venice, it's one of those places people want to be discovered like movie stars. They want to get on the covers of magazines. I'm like, listen, if I'm off season, fuck it. I don't give a fuck about my abs or my jawline and shit like that. It was always funny because the fitness girls, even back in the day, the ones that would suck a dick for a tub of protein or whatever. When I was off season, wouldn't even talk to me, pay attention. As soon as I get in shape, hey Lee, how you going? Any photo shoots coming up? I'm like, yeah, I have plenty, but not with you, you fucking slut. So it's like, because I'd want to get in the photo shoot with you, or get on the cover of the magazine with you. But off season, they wouldn't even look at me. But as soon as you get in shape, so I've always said, off season, I just wanted to, live that normal life. I didn't want to follow a diet. Like I said, I'd eat clean sometimes, but then, some people off season, they go, oh, I feel like some chocolate. Oh, but I can't have it because of my macros and all this bullshit. I'm like, fucking go and enjoy it. Fuck me dead. Just
And during that
enjoy
stage,
life.
when you ate whatever you wanted, you still would go to the gym, you would train,
Yeah.
everything, business as usual. You were just fat.
Yeah. It was fluid. It wasn't fat. How dare you?
Yeah, you were water. Now, let me ask you something. I mean, there was some criticism about it, of course, but mostly, again, I think the fans didn't give a fuck. But
Some did though, because some I'd read the post, and even in the gym, people would say to me, "Oh, he's a fat fucking pig. He'll never get in shape. He'll never get in shape. He's too fucking fat. His waist." Because my waist would sometimes, I think the biggest my waist went was like 44 inches in the off season, and then when I competed, it'll go back to 29. So people would be like, "Oh, you're going to have all this loose skin." I never did, but the ones that called me fat and said I'd never get in shape, as soon as I get in shape, "Oh, Lee, you're looking great. We knew you could do it." I'm like, "Oh, fuck off." It's like, you fucking two-faced prick.
Now going back, would you still do exactly the same? Would you live the same lifestyle, or do you regret?
I'd probably, the only thing I'd probably do different in the off season, where maybe I could have been a better bodybuilder, would maybe be more consistent with meals, because sometimes in the off season, if I'm out having fun doing stuff, I might have one big breakfast and that might be my only meal of the day. I might not eat again. So off season, I was very unregimented with
So
meal
that was
times.
counting your macros and calories. You were
No.
just eating.
Yeah. So like, some people, even like the number of meals, I could probably go just 2 meals a day in the off season. And my friends would always be like, "Oh, you must have good genetics," because even though I only had the 2 meals, I never really lost any size. But then again, I probably didn't really gain much either, because I wasn't really eating every couple of hours. So if I was busy doing something, I would just be like, "Yeah, can't be bothered eating." And I'd go 6, 7 hours without eating. I'm not one of those people to go, "Oh my God, it's fucking 2 hours. I got to eat. I'm going to go catabolic." Or fucking hell, it's Monday. If I don't have my shot today, the fucking testosterone's going to fucking go down a bit. I got to keep the peaks high. I was never like that demented into it, where, like I said, many times I'd skip needles, because I was always like one shot a week. Even when I used to do Winstrol, I started off every second day. Then I went every third day. Like, fuck, I'm going to go every fourth day. Then I went every fifth day. And I still looked as good as I did when I was taking it every second day. So I've never done those ones where it's like every day. I've never had shots every day or every second day. I was always like, Monday was shot day. I'd take the test or the SUS 250 or Masteron on the Monday. And I wouldn't take it again to the following Monday, or if it was D-Bowl, just 25, 30 milligram tab a day. And that was it. So yeah, these ones that go, "Oh, they're pinning every day or every other day." I'm like, fuck
And
it.
you never had a
Yes,
coach.
Lee, but because they go, "It's got a fast acting life and this and that." I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I said, it's still in your system. I don't give a fuck if it's fast acting or not. So I think people just get so like too scientific, all this bro science and shit like that. It's like, just fucking eat and train. If you want to take a bit of gear, take a bit of gear. Don't fucking abuse the shit. But you're trying to take something really that bodybuilding, when people ask me for diets or programs, I feel guilty charging them, because I'm like, really, it's so fucking basic. You fucking lift weights. You want to get in shape, eat clean, do some cardio, lift weights, and you'll get in shape. You want to put weight on, eat more fucking calories, and just eat maybe fattier foods. You're going to put weight on. So it's like I said, everyone's always looking for this secret way. How does this person train? Or maybe if I do this or do that. I say, look, try everything. Try different styles of training, different styles of eating, and you got to find what works for you. You can't just go, "He's Dorian's program or Ronnie Coleman's, and this is how he eats. If I do this exactly, I'm going to look just like him." That's not going to fucking happen. So just take notes yourself and find what's best for you. Because I could say to you, "Let's do arms. I love doing barbell curl. Best arm exercise ever." But you might go, "Hey, Lee, I prefer dumbbell curls. I feel dumbbell curls better." But if you feel dumbbell curls better, do dumbbell curls. Don't just do barbell curls because I do them and got big arms. So you do what you feel works best for you.
But you had a very successful bodybuilding career despite, not following the bra science and,
Hmm.
rules and regulations, so to speak.
And I never had a guru or trainer either. I did it
Well,
all
that's my question. Do you ever go back and think like the same question that I asked you about your eating habits and
yeah.
your lifestyle? Do you ever think that maybe if you had a coach or a guru or followed the bra science, that maybe you would have done better?
No, because Harney back in the day when he was nobody, Harney used to come to my place and watch what I ate. So I think Harney got his tips from me on the training and the high, high like cardio sessions and stuff like that. No, because to me it's like, yes, to me when you get ready for a show, it's always good to have a good support team, whether it be your training partner, your best friend, your wife, girlfriend, but just someone who can turn up at the gym so you're going to be there, push you through your workouts, keep you mentally motivated. Because I find physically it's no problem. It's the mental side where some days you don't want to do it. You can look in the mirror. You could look fantastic, but it's almost like a girl who has anorexia. She sees herself as fat. You can be in the best shape and you're like, oh, I look like shit. It's just that fucking mind game. So as long as you got someone like that to keep you positive and push you, that's really all you need, and just give you positive feedback. Because it'd be like if you came to me and said, Lee, you want me to get you ready for a show? I'd be like, see, just to say we just met. Okay. I'll be like, what foods do you like? What don't you like? So I'd write you out a diet, and supplement wise, I'd write you out supplements and say, okay, now go away and do this, eat this food, take that. Let me know in a week or two how you're feeling. Then you tell me. I go, okay, well, maybe we'll take this out and do this. I said, you can do that yourself just with trial and error, because I don't know you any better than you know yourself. I'm just experimenting with you by giving you different foods, giving you different supplements. I'm going off your feedback and telling you what to drop out and what to add in. And it's like when Paul Dillette stayed with me for 8 months. And I asked Paul, I said, Paul, you're a professional. Why do you use Chad? And he just told me because he's lazy. Because, sometimes when it was lunchtime for me or dinner for me, I'm like, oh, fuck, should I have chicken or steak? Or had to go Sealy. That's why I go to the fridge there, and he had his diet on the fridge. He goes, lunch. Chad says I have to have this. So he goes, it's much easier when someone tells me what I have to eat rather than think about it myself. So, I just think, like I said, it's all trial and error. No one is going to know your body better. And, that's what these gurus do. They're giving you food, sure. Then like Harney or whoever, George Farah, oh, how you looking? How you feeling? Okay. You're not fuller? Okay, add a bit more of this or add a bit more insulin or maybe cut that out. Okay, we'll see how you look tomorrow. That's all they're doing. They're only experimenting with your body till they get it. Once they've worked with you a while, okay, you're going to get close to whatever, because, you can use a diet one year and come in shredded. You could use the same diet next year. You're not going to look exactly the same. So you can get close to it. And once you get close to that formula, then every year you're going to have to fine tune it. And that's what they're doing. But in the beginning, the guru or coach doesn't know you from a bar of soap or your body or how it's going to react. You know more so.
No, I agree with you, Chris. Nobody knows your body better than you do, for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, these days you hear very often fans, especially fans, my age, who've been following bodybuilding for a decade or two or three.
Mhm.
They say, well, bodybuilders in the 90s, 2000s were in better shape than the guys today. They were harder, they were more
Mhm.
conditioned, et cetera, et cetera. Number one, it's a two-part question, I guess. Number one, do you agree with that statement? And number two, if you were holding fluids
Mhm.
at 280 pounds at 5'4", I believe, and you were on the chubby side, you would get in shape pretty much. I always remember you being in shape.
Mhm.
Always. Apart from
Yeah.
that 2002 that everybody knows you were out of shape
Yeah.
yourself, but you were always in shape. So let's say 99% of the time
Yeah.
you were shredded. Yet you were coming down from a chubby boy. Now,
Mhm.
how do you explain or how do you feel about guys today that at the Olympia, sometimes majority of the guys
Mhm.
are actually looking the way you probably looked at 6 weeks out?
I think it's probably, I'd say it's a combination of everything. It could be a combination of this stupid, I always call, they call it peak week. I call it the fucking hocus pocus week. Because to me, it's like, I always dieted 16 weeks, but about 12 weeks I was ready. And that way I could play around with my food. I do my photo shoots before the contest. So I was never like this one last minute where you go into it. But once I knew I was ready, I didn't change anything. I never carb loaded. I never carb depleted. All I did that last week was, if I was having, say, 8 litres of water Monday, Tuesday I'd go to 7 litres, Wednesday maybe 5. I still like keep water in. I'd never cut it out. And like if the show's on Saturday, maybe the Thursday I'd just take half a mod diuretic or something very mild. I wouldn't go a full diuretic. Otherwise, you pull too much water out, you can never get it back in time to fill out. So I was always on the cautious side, but I never changed anything, because it's like, if you're doing a certain diet for 16 weeks, you're eating the same way, you're training the same way, you're doing cardio, you're taking the supplements, your body gets used to that. So these guys have been eating the same meals every day, training, cardio. This last week, all of a sudden, they changed their food, they changed their drug cycle, and they changed, I'm not training anymore. So this last week, your body's going to fucking react, because your body's so used to being so specific. You've been on this thing for 14, 15 weeks, eating at certain times, and now this last week, you're going to cram more food in, throw in more drugs, and stop training. So your body, that's why I always call it hocus pocus, because they try and do this magic thing the last week now, and it's always like, because how many times have we seen it? Guys 2-3 weeks out, even Rami and them, you think, fucking hell, no one's going to beat him. You see the photos, come the day to show, you're like, fuck, what the hell happened to half these guys? I know this year a lot of them, it was just shit because they made them wait backstage to fucking 11:30 at night. The guy should have said, you know what, fuck you all, we're going home. We'll come back tomorrow, because that's just fucking bullshit when, your body's being used to peaking at a certain time, and you've got to sit back there and wait when your body's winding down. Your body chemistry is changing, probably fluids coming out. So half the guys didn't look their best just because the show was so fucking late. So, but now I think too, it's like, I used to train 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night, plus 2 to 3 hours cardio a day. And now I see guys, or any more than an hour, you're overtraining. I'm like, show me any fucking professional sport, boxing, gymnastics, anything where to be number one, you only got to train a fucking hour a day. It's like, what do you do for the rest of the day? Sit on your fucking fat ass and watch TV or play video games or just go on fucking Facebook? It's like everyone wants to be big and huge, but they want to do it with less effort possible. So I like some guys are like, I don't do much cardio. I just take more clean or more growth. I'm like, okay, that's going to help a little bit, but nothing's ever going to beat fucking hard work. And you can tell the guys that have done the hard work and fucking gone in there and busted their ass compared to the guys who haven't really pushed it. So I wouldn't say the guys don't train hard. I think they train hard, but it's like a whole different, I don't know, mindset on where it was. Because back then it was like, too, when you're competing against Kevin, NASA, Flex, and Chris and all these guys, they're coming in at their best. So, that's why you'd see the top 10 back then. Anyone probably in the top 8 could have been Mr. Olympia. Just goes on who the judges want that day and the body. So sometimes, Ronnie was unbeatable at some stage, but there's a few shows where Flex might have won. I think there was one Olympia, maybe Sean Ray should have won. So like I said, there were so many great guys where the whole lineups were good. Even the Ironman lineup, the Arnold Classic lineup was pretty much like the Olympia lineup minus Mr. Olympia. And I just don't get now why. I think the most shows I did one year was 11. Generally, I do 3 and 4, but now you've got these young guys only doing one show a year, and they fuck it up because the people go, oh, Lee, well, it's not healthy to do more shows. I'm like, if you're not abusing gear, it's just as healthy as anything, because to me, it's like, what's your 2 choices? You get ready for a show, you're eating clean, your body weight's down, you're doing cardio. Yes, you're using gear, but if you use minimal gear, it shouldn't be too bad. So you're eating cleaner, you're doing more cardio, and you're taking a little bit of gear. Off season, where you do one show, you fucking balloon up like I used to balloon up. You're taking gear, you're eating shit food, and you're sitting around probably 50, 60 pounds overweight, so which is more unhealthy. So I just don't get when they say competing more is more unhealthy. Compared to what? These guys are still on fucking drugs all year round, half of them, but they're fucking 50, 60 pounds overweight doing no cardio. So that's probably worse on the heart than competing. So I think everyone just looks for an excuse. And if you're young and you can do it, do as many shows as you can, because that's how you learn. You can't just try and hope to do one show and hit your peak for that one show, then, oh, okay, next year. What other sport can you do that in? It's like fucking every other sport. You got to MMA fighting, boxing, they do things. Tennis have tournaments all throughout the year. Every other sport. That's why I think bodybuilding, athletes should have to at least do 2 or 3 shows a year minimum, unless you're Mr. Olympia. But even he should have to do at least 2 shows, because you just can't win a championship one year and any other sport and go, so you know what, I don't have to compete this year. I can go straight back to the championship at the end of the year. So I just think, it'd be good for promoters, good for fans if the athletes got out there a bit more and competed more.
Like Mr. Olympia started in the 60s, right? So from the 60s, if we go not all the way back to the 30s, 40s, but if we start at the 60s, when we had Mr. Olympia, I feel like each and every Olympia that came after Larry Scott was better than the one before. It seems like there was that progress where you had Larry Scott, and then was Sergio Oliva was better than Larry Scott. Schwarzenegger was possibly better than Oliva, and so on and so on and so on. So there was this progress. I mean, me personally, it's personal opinion. I don't believe that we're in that progress right now. I feel like I don't think that anyone is yet better than Ronnie. I feel like Ronnie was
and that's like taking nothing away.
Version, but at the same time, after Ronnie, with all due respect to Jay and Phil, they were both phenomenal. But right now, I just don't feel like anyone could stand to Ronnie. So that means to me there is no progress. Like bodybuilding is not necessarily getting better. I mean, granted, Ronnie had phenomenal genetics, but I feel like if Ronnie at his best stood on stage today, there would be absolutely no contest.
He would have easily won the Olympia this year, and that's the thing too. That's not taking nothing away from Rami or anybody.
No, absolutely.
They're all great competitors, but there's just something like Phil had it, I think, that sort of wow factor of it. But like I said, when you had, I hate doing it because people say, "Oh, you're comparing them," but like I said, when you had the people like Dorian, when you had Dorian, Nasser, Kevin, Flex, and all these people in one lineup, you just look at the whole lineup and you're just like, wow. Sometimes now you might have an Olympia lineup, and only the top 4 might be like sort of wowed, and the rest just go off really quick. And this year, everybody thought this year's Olympia lineup was going to be the one that was going to blow everyone away. But like I said, maybe waiting around so long, a lot of them smoothed out. Hardy came in looking good in that, and Nick came in looking good, and so did Derek. But then the rest from there on down, there was no one really that blew your mind like you used to back in the 90s, where everyone pretty much blew your mind in the top 10. So, a lot of them just don't have that sort of wow factor. Yes, you can respect them even as big as Rami is. He still, to me, doesn't have that like wow factor that when Ronnie walked on stage, you're just like, fucking hell, that just looks like from another planet, whereas it's almost like yes, as big as Rami is, he looks 2D, where Ronnie's like 3-4D, where like no matter which way you look at him, it just looks like things are going to explode. It almost looks unreal. So it's just, it's hard to explain. And then I said, it's not putting them down, but it's just a whole different look altogether. And like I said, they talk about the lighting, which...
with that. You know what? I was actually thinking about you. I mean, we knew that you were going to be the first guest on the show, but literally 2-3 days ago when I heard, I don't know how close you follow MMA, UFC, if you're a fan, but a few days ago there was an announcement that John Jones is going to fight for a heavyweight title in UFC, and the champion, Francis Ngannou, has been released by the company from the contract. So he's no longer a UFC champion, and he's pretty much gone. I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, but I feel when I read about it, your name came to mind. And the reason is because Francis Ngannou, obviously a champ. He's a UFC heavyweight champion, almost undefeated. I mean, there was 1 or 2 defeats, but they were insignificant. The guy is just a force of nature. And his main reason why he didn't resign with UFC and they released him from a contract was because he wanted to be an independent contractor, and he wanted to be able to compete in boxing or other MMA federations. And he basically put his ground where he said, like, I want my freedom and I want to choose where to compete. We're not going to get into it because, that's his choice. And, there is a whole other story behind it. But that's pretty much you. I mean, you said to
because, and that's the thing too. It's like it's different because as an IFBB pro, we are. It says in the contract we're independent contractors. Look, it'd be different if like all we did was every year we had to pay. I think it was $275, then it went to $325. Every year we pay for our pro card to compete in the IFBB. the IFBB puts on a contest, which gives you the opportunity to compete and win money. Now, it'd be different if the IFBB said, Lee, here's a contract. We'll pay you $100,000 a year. You're with the IFBB. That's different. Then it's almost like a supplement contract. If I'm with a supplement contract, I just can't go to another supplement company and start pushing everyone. So if the IFBB was paying me to be there, sure, I'd be there. But, you know, when I was competing in the IFBB, and then Wayne started the PDI, and I'm thinking, well, this show is nowhere near an IFBB show. I have a chance to get in shape, make more money, because that's my job, to go and make money competing. Why can't I do both? And they're like, well, that's breaking the number one rule. I'm like, you have guys that are convicted felons. You have guys that are doing gay shit online. So I said, let's just say somebody looked up this person. Like a young kid goes, Mum, I want to be a bodybuilder. I like this guy. Let's look him up. Oh, he's doing gay shit. Oh, he's been convicted of selling drugs. Let's look up Lee Priest. What's he ever done? Oh, he's just competed to make money. So I was the fucking bad guy, but yet all these other people had broke the rules and I was the one punished for it. I said, but it doesn't conflict. I said, I'm an independent contractor. You're not paying me to be part of the IFBB. I pay you every year to be a part of it. Like when I used to race NHRA drag racing, I had my IHRA. I could go race IHRA as well. They didn't care because it's two different drag racing associations. You pay to be a member of both. You can go race.
And the prize money is not paid by IFBB. The prize money is paid by the promoter. So it makes perfect sense. My question is despite the fact that you were in the right and IFBB was clearly in the wrong, and many people, majority of people, especially the fans, everybody agreed with you because that was the right thing to do. Just like I'm a UFC fan, I'm an MMA fan. I regret the fact that Ngannou's not going to fight in UFC, but I totally see his point. He wants his freedom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, considering, sometimes the good guy doesn't win the battle. I mean, this is just real life. And you were suspended from IFBB. You were basically kicked out at the peak of your career, even though, again, you were in the right. Today, costing you, obviously, a lot of titles, costing you a lot of money, costing you probably some supplement contracts and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Do you regret your decision? Be honest.
No, because I could tell you, I went from making roughly $18,000 a month down to $4,000 for a while because companies were told to get rid of me and dump me. MD Magazine was told to get rid of me, and they were giving me $6,000 a month just for writing those columns and stuff. So, no, because even with the $4,000, yes, 18 was good because I could pay bills and put money away to save. But even though I got $4,000, I still could pay my rent. I still had food on the table. I could still train. So it wasn't like I had nothing. And the thing about that was, to me, I was still being true to myself. I just couldn't, I've never been a kiss-ass type of person. Even when I've been with supplement companies like Muscle Tech, I had a 3-year deal with them and they promised me stuff and they went back on it because I'm the type of person, you shake my hand and look me in the eye. To me, that's just as good as a signature on a piece of paper because that's the type of person I am. But these days, sure, you got to have a signature. But they lied about stuff and they were saying stuff about the products that I never said. I said, listen, don't put fucking words in my mouth. If your product's good, I got no problem saying it's good. But if I don't like it, don't say that I say it's the best because fans or my people that follow me, I said, they work fucking hard for their money. Some might have to borrow money from their mum and daddy if they're young to buy it. And if they say, Lee Priest said, this product here is the best product ever, and they go and take it, and it's like shit, they're going to go, well, fuck, we're never going to believe a word he says again. I said, so no amount of money is going to fucking take away my dignity and how I am truthful to people because that's just not me. And I had a 3-year deal with them. And after 8 months, I got out of it. They're like, we'll take you to court. I said, fucking take me to court. It's going to do you more harm with the fans and that. So they finally let me out of the contract because I'm just not that type of person. I'm going to say something just because someone's paying me. I've never been that way. That's why I have got into trouble. And even when I got suspended, I had athletes say, Lee, why do you fucking open your mouth for? They said, keep your mouth shut. You've got good contracts. You're placing in the money. I said, yeah, that is correct. And I said, so are you. I said, you should be speaking up. I said, I've got good contracts. I'm placing in the money. But these other people doing the Olympia, I said, they work just as hard as me. And if you're going to say this Olympia is the Super Bowl or this contest is this, and they're professional athletes, how the fuck can they train their ass off, almost kill themselves and not make $1? So I was standing up for the other guys. Like I said, I could have kept my mouth shut because, yes, I was making good money. But like I said, if the guys at the top don't stand up for the other people, nothing's ever going to change. And sadly, the guys at the top are like that. Well, I'm okay, so why the fuck should I worry about it? You got to worry about everyone, because if you worry about everyone, it makes the sport better as a whole for fucking all the athletes. So, but like I said,
No, it's funny.
I was like one of those people. Like, I'd go to, yeah, Lee, we agree with you. I'd do a magazine article. We agree with everything you said. I said, why don't you fucking stand with me? I said, there's something like the Olympia. Look, I understand promoters have to make money. The IFBB has to make money. But I was more about just give the athletes some fucking respect and just be fair to the athletes as well. We're the ones putting the asses on the seats and bringing the people in. I said to the athletes, without us, don't you understand there is no fucking IFBB? Somebody else could come along and start another organisation with money. You don't need the IFBB. They need us. Like I said, there'll always be organisations out there that all the athletes could go to and get sponsors. So I said, take it like the athletes' meeting, which is always 2 days before the Olympia. I said, just say we said we'd like this changed and this changed and that changed. If it's not changed, we're not walking out on stage tomorrow. Do you think they're going to cancel the fucking show? No, they've got sponsors. People are coming from all over the world. They would fucking change it. But the only thing was, I'd put my hand up and say something. Hey, guy. And Wayne the Moo, this is where, like, people didn't like Wayne. I had many arguments with Wayne. Even, like I said, the night I won the San Francisco, the meeting the day before that, there was a fucking article come out in MD, Lee Priest into politics. I'm like, oh, shit. Him and I were yelling at each other because we're the only ones in the room. I was with my wife, Kathy. The other athletes come in, and I went, fuck, I'm fucked tomorrow now. I'm never going to, why bother competing? But I won the show. And he come over to me, he goes, are you surprised you won? I said, well, after the argument we had, I didn't even think I'd place. He goes, no, Lee, he goes, I respect you. He goes, you speak your mind, and that's a good thing. He goes, but in that article, you asked, why do I do it? I said, I'll tell you why. He goes, I might say something and do something. The athletes won't like it. You will say something. I can suspend you, and that scares all the other athletes, and they'll do exactly what I say. So at least he was always honest. He was always up front. I said, well, I can't argue that point. So, but I just couldn't understand how the other athletes didn't get through their head if you're all stuck. Like, if I say something, I get suspended. Okay, Lee's done. Some athletes are like, yeah, Lee's gone. I can move up a place. But if every athlete stood together, what the fuck could they do? Suspend every athlete? Then you got no shows. Go right ahead. So the athletes have the power, but yet they fucking just bend over and take it up the arse all the time. And I say, you don't have to be rude or demanding, but just be fair with the athletes and give them what they deserve when they're busting their ass, putting their lives on the line, making you money.
Now, you obviously lost opportunities because of being outspoken and because doing things your way, and you just pretty much admitted that you would not change it for any other way, which makes total sense to me. My question is then, if that's the case, then would you say that the athletes that you thought were your friends, did they turn their back on you?
Oh yeah,
Some.
a lot of them like wouldn't even talk to me and stuff. I was surprised. This is going back. I'm good friends with Jay now, but I remember Jay when I was living in Scottsdale, Arizona. He come to Gold's Gym, and this is when he was partners with a friend of mine in a store like the Max Muscle store in Venice. And Jay walked past me pretty close. I went to say hello, and I thought, oh, maybe he didn't see me. Okay, so before he was leaving, I went to say hello again. Ignored me. So I said to my friend Scott, I said, yeah, I saw Jay when he was in town. Then he just ignored me. He goes, that's weird. Well, let me ask him why. And Jay told him that it wouldn't have looked good if Mr. Olympia was seen talking to a suspended athlete and stuff like that. So a lot of people did sort of shun away. Well, even Tony Doherty in Australia, I grew up with Tony Doherty as a teenager competing in his shows and that. Once I was suspended, and I did his shows. I won his first show and that, and I, would always go to his gym, or he'd be calling me constantly. When I was suspended for 7 years, I didn't hear from him. It wasn't until Raphael and the IFBB went their separate ways, and Jim split, and Raphael went to the IFBB Elite, and the other one. I get a thing one day, and I'm like, oh, Tony Doherty, that's weird. Pick it up. Oh, hi, Lee. I just want you to know that now that we've gone separate ways, because I was suspended with the other mob and not the new mob that Jim's with now, and that you can come to my shows. And that I said, well, why couldn't they come before? Well, you know how it is. I said, I don't know. I said, we've been friends for how many years? you couldn't send me a text or say hello. How would they know that you're communicating with me still? He goes, you just have to do things. I'm like, no, I don't really know how you have to do things.
It's interesting, but at the same time, it's hardly unexpected. Um, Today, how do you think athletes in general view how you are and what you've done for the sport? Because in reality, you've done quite a bit. Besides the fact that your accomplishments. I mean, you were the smaller guy who was taking out giants.
Yeah.
Um, do you think that athletes today, despite the fact that what happened is over a decade ago when you were suspended and stuff like that, do you feel they came around and there is more respect
I
towards
think,
you?
I think,
Do you
I
feel
think
more
so.
respect
I think now
towards
there is too,
Olympia?
especially too when they watch that. I think you can find the 2002 press conference where I stand up and give Wayne that letter because the year before Milos had a go at him, and Wayne's like, if you don't have it in writing, we can't do it. Blah blah blah. So if you go on YouTube, put in Lee Priest 2002 athlete press conference where they asked me a question about people out of the top 10 not getting money. So I start going on with Wayne about, this is the Super Bowl. How can they not get money and that? And Wayne's on the microphone going, that's right, this and that. And I've told you athletes to put it in writing. And you, Lee Priest, said if you weren't going to get the money, you would get up and walk out of here. I said, yeah, I said that, but guess what? I put it in writing and I walk up and I hand in the letter at the press conference and everyone's like, yeah. And he reads it, he goes, okay, well, since you put it in writing, from that day on, every athlete out of the top 10 got $2,000. So,
And my next question would be, I feel, and many fans felt that way. I remember reading about it a lot. Everybody wanted to see a showdown between you and Flex Lewis. That was an ongoing thing for quite some time. Um, do you feel like the fans, the audience, we were robbed for a potential showdown between the two of you based on politics?
I think so. And I think that would have been good because I get on good with Flex and I always say he would have beat me. He says I would have beat him. But then there was Jose as well. I think me, if I was competing, see, I think when I was suspended, it was only like not long after that they started. It was like the 202, wasn't it, at first, before it went to the 212 was the 202 division. And that, so I think it would have been a perfect division for me back then, back in the day. So I think I might have had a few titles in it. And like I said, people say, yes, from the back, Flex was probably better because he had the glutes and that, because I was never worried about glutes. Yeah, when I won the Mr. Universe in 2013, my glutes were in, and I was probably the hardest I've ever been. So I think if I was competing against someone like that and I needed to get my glutes hard, I would have done it. So it would have been a good contest because we both have our strong points and weak points. So I think it would have been a good thing to see. Like I said, even just me in any 212 lineup, because there was a few guys. The guy that got second to me at the university in my class, he went on that Korean guy. He won a couple of 212 shows. I know Sammy, who was in the PDI with me, who got second at one show and third at another. He went on and did pretty well in the 212 class. So, all these guys I've beaten would have, I said I probably would have done okay. Like I said, considering who I competed against and beat some of those bigger names, but then again, the 212 guys, even though they're not as big as some of the bigger names, you can always guarantee they're going to come in condition. So that's why some of them now are doing well in the open class, because they still can bring that conditioning in that some of the bigger guys aren't bringing in. So we look at what Mr. Olympia now, he was 212, Derek was 212. You got Sean Clarita going to the Arnold. And to me, it's like, yes, he hasn't got the size, but yes, Nick Walker's going to be there who's going to outmuscle him and all them. Yes, we know we've seen Sean beat Sergio and that. Nick's a better bodybuilder for sure than Sergio and Regan. But yet, if Nick happens to slip and comes in that little bit off, Sean Clarita is going to be dialed in. And even though he's a lot less. Like when I won the San Francisco, I weighed 199. Cormier got second. He was 260. So he was 61 pounds heavier than me. But people thought I looked like I was 235 on stage. And Clarita, when he's on stage with his shape and the muscle, he doesn't look like he's 170 or 180 or whatever. He just looks complete like a little Ronnie Coleman. So I wouldn't count Sean out. People go, oh, he's going to be out muscled by everyone. But The guys that are big, if they just come in, not on, he's just going to, like I said, his conditioning, you can't help but look at him. So if your eyes keep going to him, and like I said, yeah, he might be smaller, but okay, he's smaller, but yet he has less flaws. You can't flaw his symmetry. You can't flaw his proportions and shit. So, like I said, if the other guys are off, he could easily take the armor plastic out. So,
I got to ask you this question. You know, you touched up about the drugs, and drugs are obviously a
mm-hmm.
huge part of bodybuilding. It's undeniable, and you
And apart
always.
from drive me mad, like,
I remember that video that Tom Platz did. You were the only one who actually didn't hide your face, and you were very,
mm-hmm.
very open about it. And you were always open about it. But I remember that was the only subject that you were heavily criticized about, because I remember when you stated your dosages and your cycles and whatever, everybody said that you're lying,
He's
because
lying. He's lying.
literally, it was, I believe you said something like 2 cc of Deca and 2
Yeah.
cc of Parabolin, which is Trenbolone. And everybody was saying, and you said you would use Winstrol once in a while, and everybody was saying, what about GH? What about massive amounts of testosterone? What about all other drugs? And you said that basically this is all I'm taking. And nobody, I'll admit, including myself, believed you that it was true. You know, there was
No,
minimal.
like even when it came to testosterone, there used to be Trevor from Nuclear Nutrition. When it came to Cypionate, I never went over 400. I felt good on 400. He said, Lee, let's try you on 800. So I went to 800 for a couple of weeks. I felt fucking terrible. And this is the funny thing. People I've helped get ready for shows, when I've given him cycles, one of the first guys I helped and he won the world championships, when I gave him the cycle, he's like, are you fucking with me? I said, why? He goes, there's no growth. He goes, that's like half I normally take. I said, well, trust me with your diet. You trust me with training. Trust me with this. And when he did it, he used half the amount. He goes, please, the best I've ever looked and the best I've ever felt. And I think people now are slowly realizing that have taken these large amounts and come back. Sadly, in the end, even Boston Lloyd worked out he didn't need those large amounts. Fuada said that he's taken smaller amounts and felt better and stuff. So I think these people read online that, you know, guys take this and that. And when I say I take 400, they're taking 1,000, but they're like, how can he take 400? I'm taking 1,000, but he's bigger than me. He's lying. And that's the thing I've always said. Why would I lie about that? I've talked about my sex life. I've talked about being in threesomes where I was that fucked up. A guy was sucking me off and shit. And I'm like, now, if I was going to lie about something, why wouldn't I fucking hide the fact that, you know, a guy had my fucking cock in his mouth or something? But I'm going to lie about the steroids. But, you know, let's talk about that. So I never understood people when they're like, he's lying. Okay, but I'm so honest about everything else. Like I said, my sex life and shit I've done, doing the cocaine and tying my cock to a coffee table and shit. But yet the steroids, I'm going to fucking lie about that. So I'm like, I just don't get it. And the sad thing is that pisses me off is I only say it because I've seen guys who have taken large amounts and I've actually said, look, come off for a couple of months and go back on, but just start at this. What do you got to lose? Just half what you're on now. I said, what do you got to lose? Just go back on half. And if you feel just as good, you're making the same gains, why take 1,000 if you only need 500? And they're done. They're like, well, fuck Lee, yeah, I do feel the same. I'm making the same results and that. I said, it's all in your fucking head. You think 2 is better, 3 is better. And some of these young kids now, they start on such a high cycle that they think their next cycle has to be bigger and then go bigger. So once they're already up here in this big zone, to tell them to come back down, they're like, oh, that wouldn't work. How's that going to work if I'm taking 1,000 now, going to 400? That's not going to help me. I need 1,000. It's like, why do you? Well, because fucking some fuckwit online, some internet guru says this is what the pros do or this is what you need to take. It's fucking bullshit. So I recommend anyone that's on large cycles to come off for a month or two, go back on a small amount and see how you go. What do you got to lose? If it doesn't work, then fucking go back to your large amount. So the only one who's benefit from you taking a large amount is the guy you're buying it off, because he's like, oh, fucking hell, you're buying a bottle a week. Yeah, hey, I'm making more money. Even Ed Connors, he's in my new documentary, and he even says, I think on the people haven't seen it yet, but he goes, you know, Lee and I would laugh. He goes, I'd buy Lee's cycle before the contest, and it probably cost me a couple of $100. He goes, he barely used anything because, you know, because I was new to America. Ed Connors would get me the cycles I'd need before the Ironman and that. I think the most I ever spent was when I used growth. I used growth in 94 and 96. And because I was still young, maybe it didn't work. Maybe I'm 50 now. Growth might fucking work better on me. But when I was young, I thought for the money, I'd just rather use Winstrol. So I never did insulin. I never did any of the other shit. I just stuck to the main basics, and the basics always worked, and the small amounts worked. A lot of the time in the off season, I wouldn't take anything. I'd just fucking eat all the junk food and shit. I think that's why I'd go from like taking gear, eating clean, to off season, no gear, just eating crap food. So when I did put a little bit
Wait.
in,
So off season, you did not take anything.
now, the odd occasion I might take some Deca or something, but then I'd just rather be off it because I hate fucking needles. Even if it's like one shot a week off season, I'm like, you know what? I just don't like fucking taking them. I'd rather go without. So, when I was younger, I would do like maybe an 8-week off season cycle twice a year. But then after that, probably from 2000 on off season, I just ate. I didn't take anything because that way I found that when you do go back on, of course, you haven't been taking anything, and I'm going from eating garbage food, no cardio. So when I did cardio, add the drugs in, and went to eating clean, my body just fucking responded so quick. Whereas I said, you keep on it all the time, your body, it's like anything. You take the same supplements day after day, you do the same thing day after day, your body's just going to get fucking used to it. You need to, that's why I don't get when people go bridging and gapping and cruising. It's like, no, come off the fucking shit. Just fucking go. Because I've never had that mentality where I've trained with people and they're like, I said, let's go heavy. I can't go heavy today. I'm like, why not? I'm not on anything. I said, if that's the way you think, you're going to go fucking nowhere. You shouldn't have that mentality where without the drugs you can't do it. That's why I hate when people write to me and they go, Lee, I'm doing this program and that. So what do you think is I should do for being natural? I'm like, what makes you think being natural and being on gear is any fucking different? You still got to train just as hard. You might recover a bit more quicker being on gear or something. I said, but you don't train any fucking different. It's like, so I always hate when people go, well, compared to a natural or somebody that's on, I'm like, oh, fuck off, just go train hard. But, people like now, I haven't, I think I had my last shot of SUS 250. I was taking 1 mil a week every 9 or 10 days. It's been 2 months since I've had a last shot. I was just saying to Dave the other day, fuck, I might need to go back on. I said, I still keep my size. And people go, well, how do you keep the muscle? I'm like, I still train every day. I still eat. Why would I lose the muscle? As long as you're still using it, yeah, when you go back on gear, you might get a little bit fuller or something, you have a bit of water retention. But I don't get it because people that come off gear, generally when they come off gear, they stop eating, their training goes shit because mentally, I can't train hard now, I'm off it. But here's a funny example. I had this guy at the gym when I was younger. He's like, Lee, I want to go on gear. I'm like, but you don't really train. You train twice a week or 3 times a week. You barely eat and stuff like that. He kept pounding me. I said, okay, look, I'll get you some Dianabol. So I had an empty Dianabol bottle. I put some pills in it, gave it to him. I said, now what you got to do though is you got to train 5 days a week at least. So he's like, okay. So I gave him a program and you got to eat 5 meals a day. Okay. So now he's training 5 days a week. He went from 3 days to 5. He went from eating like maybe 2 meals a day to eating 5 meals a day. After 4 weeks, he's like, fuck, look at me. The drugs are working great. Fucking, I put muscle on, my strength's going up. I said, when you take your Dianabol tablets today, I said, fucking chew them. So he chewed them. He goes, oh, fuck, they're sweet. I gave him fucking sugar pills. I was all in his head. I said, the only thing that changed was you training more regularly and fucking eating. I said, that's the only difference I made to you, and you fucking grew, you dickhead. It was all in your fucking head. You thought you're on drugs and you're fucking growing. So
Have you ever thought about the fact, like you said that you were very open about your drug use and what you use and how much you use, and basically you still known as one of the bodybuilders with the best arms in history. I mean, your arms are right up there with Ronnie and all those guys with phenomenal arms, and yet there are guys who are shooting shitload of drugs.
yeah.
And not only that, doing site injections and doing menthol and whatever other crap they're doing, and they putting in the biceps, and yet they don't even come close to your arm development. Don't you find it ironic that it's like guys are willing to risk their health, even their life, to do something that you have better?
That's why you got to be honest with yourself, where you got to really have reality. It's like, look, not everyone's going to be a pro bodybuilder. It's like, look, I could dribble a basketball and play basketball okay, but I'm never going to be I'm not going to be in the NBA. I got friends that play tennis just for fun. they're not coming to me saying, hey, Lee, next week I'm going to take on Djokovic and Nadal, or I got friends that go play golf on weekends. They're not saying, well, I'll go fucking go play Tiger Woods. But for some reason, every fucking dickhead that goes into the gym thinks they can be fucking Mr. Olympia or grow muscle. It doesn't happen. I'm sure you've been in your gym. You've seen guys. When I was at Gold's, I could guarantee half the guys that were on gear, if I pointed them out, don't even look like they fucking train. Like, they can take all the gear in the world and eat whatever. You just don't have the genetics to build a muscular body. You might get somewhat okay. Some guys might get to a state level contest. Some might get to the nationals. Some might even get a pro card, but you're going to be a shit pro. And some, like I said, might not develop at all. So I say, listen, if you love training, train. That's why I always say, when people say to me, I want to be Mr. Olympia, I say, listen, if you have it up here in your head and you have the fucking guts and the heart to really push through, and the mentality and the genetics and whatever, I said, if you just train and eat and sleep and you never touch a drug, you'll know that you're meant to do bodybuilding. Your body will just fucking respond. So when you do the other shit, it'll just come even easier to you. But if you've been going to the gym 15 years and you're pumping those fucking drugs and you still haven't got a good physique and you still can't win a show, that's when you got to be honest with yourself and say, listen, I'm pretty much wasting money on drugs. I'm probably doing myself harm. Doesn't mean you have to stop going to the gym and stop training, because that's a good lifestyle if you eat clean and train to be healthy. But, ease up on the fucking drugs and shit, because no matter how many you take, you're not going to be this champion. Like I said, that's the top 1%. You're talking about the Ronnie Colemans and the Mr. Olympia lineup and shit like that. Not everyone's going to get there. Like I said, there's some that'll just be good at that state level. And that might be as far as you go. You've probably seen guys who maybe 20 years later are still trying for a fucking pro card. And you're like, why? Just enjoy the training, enjoy life. Why go for this pro card? Because once you get it, you're not going to be a fucking good pro. So then what are you going to do? Try to kill yourself to be up here, in a pro show? So you just got to be honest with yourself. And like I said, just enjoy the training. I always tell people, if it's going to happen, if it's meant to happen, it's going to happen. Like any sport, whether it be fighting, golf, or anything, if you've got the natural ability for it, it'll just come to you naturally when you're doing it. You see people do stuff, you're like, fuck, look how easy he's developed. Or Tiger Woods when he was younger, look at him with a golf club. You just notice people are built for a certain thing. So, yeah, so at the end of the training, you don't need to go, will I be a good pro or will I be a pro? You will know just from training and eating alone and resting in your genetics, you'll start developing before you even touch a drug. So
You were training at Gold's Gym back when everybody trained at Gold's Gym. I would say the golden era, so to speak, when
yeah,
everybody who is anyone would train there, all the top bodybuilders. You would walk into it
oh
was a
yeah,
true mecca of bodybuilding. Those are the best days. And
yeah,
then you moved back to Australia. I think you moved to Texas first, then you moved to
yeah.
Australia, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken, right?
I
Uh,
mean, Texas, Arizona, then
oh,
Australia.
Arizona, that's right. So you moved back to Australia, and recently you visited Gold's Gym after
Yeah.
years of living in Australia. Has it changed? I know the answer to it.
Hmm.
And how bad is it, or good? Do you see it as an improvement, or you miss the old days? How
Oh,
do you feel about it? How do you
always
feel
going to
about
miss
this
the old.
Gold's Gym?
I always going to miss the old days, because I was at Gold's for a while, but then I got sick of the egos there and went to World Gym. I became really good friends with Joe Gold and Eddie Giuliani and Arnold and Lou Frigno. There was no music in the gym, so I got on better with the older people because they reminded me of my grandfather. There's no egos there at World Gym. It was like if you dropped a weight or did something, Joe Gold would kick you out. So I'd always help Joe Gold out in that. So, but in Gold's, when I went back, it's like, it's totally changed now, because like I said, you don't have the pros there like you used to and stuff. Arnold still might come in, but like Rich Mensa was still there, who used to work there, and some of the personal trainers, Will was there, and so there's still a lot of older people who were there when I was there are still there. So to me, even though it's different, it's weird because I know it's different looking at it, but yet when I go in there, I've still got all the memories, so everything comes flooding back. Like I can remember, like it almost feels like in the '90s when I walk back in there, even though they're not there, I can still picture Mike Matarazzo and Flex and everyone, what was happening there at the time. So even though it looks different now, and like I said, it's totally different being in there. When I walk back in there, it still feels the same, but different, if you know what I mean. So, because I still got the memories, I can still picture what we were doing in the time and stuff. And it makes me feel like it's almost like if you left home for a long time, then you come back home. Yes, home's now different. Relatives might have died, people have moved away, but still got that home feeling. You just know where you feel comfortable. So I still had that type of feeling to it. So I still enjoyed going there. And I was lucky enough to catch up with James Kahn, because when I saw him there, he had that bad back operation. He was on like oxygen and that, but I got to talk to him briefly. And like I said, he loved Aussie rules, Australian football. So I got to talk to him. And even when I saw him, I'm like, oh shit, he doesn't look good. And when I got home, only 2 weeks later, he passed away. So yeah, it's like I said, it's good. It was good being back there. I'd like to go back again and just hang out and just train there, because I said I have all those good memories, and it's good and bad. Because even who was it? Antoine posted a video the other day of me posing at World Gym. He's like, Lee, my motivation, because I'm on those circles. If anyone doesn't know those Centopani circles, you should follow it. So it's a Telegram app, and we go on there, and there's me, Jay Cutler, Flex Lewis, Chris Tuttle, Evan Centopani, Juji. Who else is on there? Jose Raymond, and we just talk shit. We make fun of each other. It's just like a constant chat that goes on. You can comment to us and talk to us. So yeah, when I get on there and stuff, it was like he posted a thing going, Lee, my motivation today, it was me posing at World Gym. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, feels like 7 years ago. He's like, 99 pose. I'm like, fuck, 99. That's like fucking 25 years ago. And then I start thinking about, oh, World Gym, Joe Gold, he's passed away. So I get those mixed feelings where it makes me happy, but then it makes me sad at the same time. So
I feel like there was this kind of like a clique, like a group of individuals that belong to the same circle, like Chris Corbier and the Flex Wheeler, and they were all part of that group. And I always felt like even though you trained and competed with them, along them, and trained basically in the same area, I mean, you were
just say it's because I'm white. They wouldn't let me in their group.
You were mostly you were both the outsider of that game.
But when I first came there, they're like, who's this Australian guy? And actually, the guy I first met, Kurt Miller, when I first moved there, Jim Quinn and Billy Smith used to train together, and they used to train heavy as. And I remember one time, the second day I was there, he's like, Jim and Billy, this is Lee. And I went, no, just like, yeah. So I went, okay. So the next day I'm down there training. I'm doing the 180-pound dumbbells. I'm only 20 years old, wrapping them out, and they're looking over. And once they seen me do that, it's like they came over, got their respect, and they started talking to me. But it's almost like you had to earn their respect. But then, yeah, Flex and them, they had their own little clique. He'd like give you, how you going?
The whole culture about Gold's Gym and about bodybuilding in general around that era, there were a lot of rumors, about sex and money, and that a lot of bodybuilders made their money with posing or sexual favors. I mean, basically, prostitution was rampant in the bodybuilding world, and everybody knew about it. There were some bodybuilders, of course, the elite, the top 6 or top 10, they would make money and they would make a good living. Nevertheless, I was going to go out and ask, were you offered those?
No. And that's the thing. People always ask me, was I offered this gay for pay? Like, I knew different gay guys there at the gym. Ted Dixon was a main one.
Some of them were not even gay.
No, some weren't gay. The only time I had a guy pay me was, he wrote to me once. He says, do you do posing and that? I said, no. He goes, well, I just want to see you pump your arms up. I said, we can go to the gym and do that. I said, it's a public gym. I remember at World Gym this one day, I've told the story before, because, at World Gym, I know everybody. This one guy I'd never seen before, and he's just sort of watching me, and I'm training. I just mind my own business. Just as I'm about to leave, he goes, oh, hi, Lee, I'm such and such from the web thing that was talking. They said, oh, yeah, how you going? Good, blah, blah, blah. He goes, here's $1,000. I said, what's that for? He goes, let me watch you train. I said, I didn't let you watch. I said, it's a public gym. He goes, I'll just take it anyway. So I took it. And he's like, where are you going now? I said, I'm going to the firehouse. He goes, can I come eat with you? I said, I don't care. It's a public restaurant. Do what you want. So he comes down. I've come to learn he's like a lawyer, married, 3 kids. And he pays for breakfast, and he goes, oh, here's another $350 for having breakfast with me. I'm like, oh, thanks. I said, well, I want you to know tomorrow I'm training back if you want to come back. But as for the sex side, And people go, Lee, you must have got proposition. I said, no. I said, because I was always open because my father's gay. So in all my
I would
interviews,
expect that you know, I mean, good looking guy, blonde
yeah.
hair, you
That's
know,
why I said, that's why
Australia
I get upset. I'm
accent.
thinking, what was wrong with me? I never got proposed. But like I said, one of these guys, Ted Dixon, that was gay at the gym, he's like, Lee, I'd never do that to you because I know your father's gay and I feel like I'm your father. I look at you like I'm your son and all this sort of stuff. So, yeah, and that's the funny thing. People would be like, oh, you must have. I said, listen, if I did and I did it, trust me, I'd tell the fucking stories. I don't give a shit. I think that'd be great stories to tell if I was posing for a guy and he was spunking all over himself and stuff. I'd fucking tell the story. I think it would be great, but sadly, it never happened. I said, I only had that one threesome that time, like I said, when I was with an ex and she was fucking riding the guy, and all of a sudden I'm like, who's sucking my dick, Mo? She's up there. Oh, it's him. And I went, oh, fuck it. I can't be bothered moving anything. So I fucking blew in his mouth and shit. And I'm like, oh, okay, over. I said, never spoke about it after that. But I said, look, I told the story. I don't give a shit. That's why I argue with people when sometimes Guy and them, and they have that argument, it's only gay if it's gay. I said, listen, you can fucking hypothetically talk all you want. Trust me, a mouth's a mouth. You wouldn't fucking know in a dark room if it's a fucking guy or a girl unless there's a fucking beard attached or you feel a beard or like stuff. So I said, I'm speaking from experience here, so shut the fuck up. So that's why I said if I did do gay for
This
pay,
is officially our last show.
I'd be talking about gay for pay if I did it. I think it'd be the funniest thing ever. I'd be like, fuck yeah, I made 5,000 ramming this fucking guy's head through a wall while I fucked him in the ass. I said, I wouldn't give a shit if I did it. I'd fucking tell the stories. But sadly, I don't have those stories to tell.
So, you know, we covered basically, you know, the training, the competing, you know, getting suspended by the IFBB. Today, how is your relationship with IFBB, or does
No,
it
that's
even
pretty
exist?
good. Like I went to the Olympia and I spoke to Mel Chance in that. And like I said, I've never had a problem with Jim Mannion. I've always respected Jim, and I think he's doing a great job. And is Tyler, who's running it now pretty much as well. So I've never had a problem. My problem was never with any one person. It's with the organisation as a whole, which pretty much Wayne ran back then. So when I talk about my problems, it was back with the old guard. Now that Jim and them, and like I said, they're separated from Raphael and they've gone their separate ways, it seems a lot better. I'm sure there's probably still athletes have their little gripes here and there. And, you know, Bob Ciccarello is the athlete's rep. I hope he does a good job because even something like the lighting, I know Fuad's brought it up, and then Bob had a go at him. And look, all you need at pre-judging or the night show is the flat background for the judging. Yes, because I know Fuad brought up the lighting because we had good lighting at the Iron Man. He's like, what, are you going to the same lighting guy go to every show? No, but you could probably ask Mike Neville and those who lit the Iron Man stage, how did you do it? And then, because, you know, you go to different venues, different lighting, you might have windows so it could throw the lighting off. But yet, once you found out how they done it, you could try and keep as close to that as you could at every show. That way, it'd be some sort of uniform in the lighting, whereas some shows are too bright, it washes people out, or the lighting's not good enough. And like I said, the LED things back on the thing behind them, yeah, it's great for sponsors, but when you're judging them and that, you just need that curtain. You can hang a curtain over the fucking LEDs and have your sponsors around the edges of it, you know, but while you're judging, you just need that black. So the little things can be done. I think, you know, if people sit down and talk about it, I think like this Olympia, they were talking about how backstage was fucking terrible. The athletes having to go outside. Look, it's the Mr. Olympia. People are coming to see that. I think they should do how it used to be done, pre-judging at fucking 11 or so a.m. and then the finals on the same day. Don't drag it out 2 days. Don't make guys try and stay in condition and have to do crazy shit with diuretics or drugs over 2 days. Have it on the one day. You're going to get the same people coming to see the show. They're going to buy the same tickets. You're going to make the same money. So that, you know, put the women on with the women and the men on, have the men's open, the classic and whatever, and the 212 on one day and the women on another day. And it should be just judged and finals on that day. There's no 24 hours to either fuck up or you come in fucked up at the pre-judging, you got 24 hours to come in better for the next day. No, you got one fucking day. It's not like boxing or MMA. We go out, do a few rounds, you're tired. Okay, we'll stop there. We'll finish the rest of this fight tomorrow. No, you fucking do it now. You don't get a chance to come back and, you know, get your second breath and second wind. So I think they should go back to the 1 day format just for the athletes and everyone involved. It's so much easier.
It definitely makes perfect sense. Now, as you mentioned, you're 50 years old. You still look like you're in phenomenal shape. You're still training on a regular
No
basis.
ring lights.
My question is that, I mean, 50 is young. If not to compete, and if we are to be honest and realistic, you obviously are a bodybuilder at heart. You're always going to be elite priest. You're always going to be a legend. You're always going to be somebody that people look up to when it comes to bodybuilding. And you'll always be, I think, in my opinion, one of the most respected and popular bodybuilders of this era, this generation. My question is the future. Do you see yourself as being involved within the industry? Meaning, I don't know, Lead Priest Gym, or maybe Lead Priest competition, or maybe supplement line, or some sort of like, how do you see yourself? How do you see Lead Priest, the future of Lead Priest, the bodybuilder, or former? Well,
But generally,
you always
I'm the type
bodybuilder.
of person, and I never make plans because you make plans, they get something goes awry, you get disappointed. I pretty much just take it day by day. I never, sometimes I don't like looking into the future. As long as I'm healthy, I always think, look, I want to try and be healthy as I can and live a long life. Anything else that happens in between then, whether it be, I don't think I could own my own gym because I'm so OCD. And when I see people not put weights away and do stupid shit, in a month's time, I'd be the only fucking member left in the gym type of thing. So I'd rather be, aligned with a gym, promote a gym or do stuff like that rather than me actually have my own and stuff like that. Same with supplement companies. I've had people say, Lee, start your own line, but then there's so many lines out there. What's going to make mine different? Yes, I have fans and stuff. So I've often said, even if I'm with a company, okay, like say I was with Species now or Black Skull before, okay, let's do a Lee Priest line, but with your company still, rather than me start my own. Let's do stuff that I'm known for. Let's do just the basics, the good protein. Off season, do a good bulking up protein powder. Yeah, just sort of basic things like that, and maybe a good contest type prep one or a pre workout in their line, but just do like a Lee Priest signature series type of thing. Because, like I said, that's the one thing. I haven't competed in the IFBB since 2006, and I probably still have one of the biggest fan bases out there. For, like I said, there's been a lot of IFBB pros who haven't competed within a year or two. They just slowly fade away. So I've been lucky, and I think that way too. Me being just myself and not, like I said, I've never had an ego just because I'm a pro bodybuilder. I've said it millions of times. Me being in the gym, getting ready for the Mr. Olympia, I've never asked somebody, can I work in or can I use that equipment? Because I've always said me getting ready for the Olympia is no different to a woman who wants to lose 20 pounds. That's just as important to her. So just because I'm a pro bodybuilder doesn't give me the right over the gym. And some bodybuilders get egos, but I'm like, to me, I'm in the gym training and I still don't get it. And I was saying to a friend today, because he was saying to someone, oh, this Lee Priest, and like, oh my God, Lee Priest. I still get embarrassed because to me, I see myself as Lee. I'm a fucking idiot. I'm just like anybody else. I'm no one special. Yes, it's good to know that I've inspired people, but yet I still don't get that because I'm just like you. I love going to the gym. I love training. So I don't see myself any different to you. So when people look up to me and they say, oh, you're Lee Priest, I'm like, oh, yeah, but I'm just Lee. Like I said, I'm no different to anyone out there. So I've never, it's hard for me to see it sometimes when, like I said, I'm 50 now and I still don't get it. I still get embarrassed when people say, can we have a photo on this and that? I'm like, why really? But so, yeah, I mean, well, some people let it go to their head, whether it be in any sport or even movie stars that let it go to their head. I'm like, listen, yes, I'm a pro bodybuilder. I'm good at that, but that doesn't make me any better than this guy who goes to the gym and he's a fucking plumber or he's an electrician or he's whatever. They're good at what they do. So just because I'm a pro bodybuilder doesn't make me any fucking better than anybody else. We're all the same. So I've always just stayed level headed that way and just treated people equally. So
Last question before I make an announcement that some people already know. Um, Obviously, I have to address it. Your face tattoo. I mean, if I don't address it, I'm probably gonna fucking get killed.
What tattoo? What tattoo? What? I got something on my
So
face.
you didn't have a face tattoo when you were competing. Then you had a face tattoo. Then you removed the face tattoo. Now you have the face tattoo again. I don't give a fuck. I think you look cool. I think that it's your body, your choice. I already expressed my opinion about it, and you know it. Nevertheless, I mean, obviously, some people don't approve.
Oh
I
yeah.
I don't give a fuck what they think. I'm just going to ask you in your own words, why did
Why?
you put it on in the first place? Why did you remove it? And why did you put it back?
Well, over the years, I got my first tattoo with Sean Davies and Chris Cormier in '97. I got the Superman tattoo and said, I'll never get another one. Then I got another one. Then I got another one. And because I come from Australia, it's close to New Zealand, I knew some Maoris that had the facial tattoos, and I always liked them. I always figured, well, I could get one on my face because I'm not in that type of business or job where, it's going to affect sales or, I'm not a, customer relations. So, and I could cover it up. But then Mike Tyson got his. I thought, well, if I get one now, they're going to say you're copying Mike Tyson. So I waited a few years and I thought, fuck it, I'm going to get one. And as soon as I got it, oh, you're copying Mike Tyson. And I had it for a few years. And then I'm like, I want to add to it. So I added. I kept getting bigger and bigger. And I had it for 13 years. Like these tattoos here, I can wear clothes and cover them up. The one on my face, no matter where I look, I fucking see it. And like I said, I kept adding to it. I just got bored of it. I said, oh, pretty bored of looking at it now. So I had it removed. And I always said maybe one day I'll get something new again. So I had it removed. My mother was all upset because my mother loved it. Because to people that know me, it's almost like you don't notice it. It's just part of me. It's just Lee. He's got a tattoo or whatever. So, and my wife at the time, she's like, oh, I met you when you had that. My wife, Rachel, who I'm with now, I loved that on you because you had it. So, 4 years goes by, I got that stupid app Lenser, and where you put your face in and does all these things. And a lot of the ones that put up had tattoos on my face, all different. And I'm thinking, well, that one looks pretty good and that. And I said to my wife, what do you think of this one? Does it look good? She's like, oh, are you thinking of getting one again? So I just went and got it. And she's like, oh, I love it. And I sent a photo to my mum and she goes, oh, I love it. So I figured, well, if they love it, that's all that matters. And I always said I'd get another one. So that's why I'm so shocked. And people that know me and know, like, hey, I wouldn't say I'm crazy. I'm just down to earth and I live my life my way. I'm so surprised that they go, why would you get a face tattoo? I'm like, because I'm a fucking idiot. I do stupid things sometimes. It's like, I remember I had an old lady once. She's like, I've got to ask you a question. I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go. She's probably like 80 years old. She goes, why'd you get a face tattoo? I said, because I'm an idiot. She goes, no. She goes, I think it's beautiful. So I said, but to me, it's like, I see tattoos on people too. I'm guilty of it. There used to be this girl and she had lots of tattoos similar to this, but in the middle, she had this big fucking yellow Tweety bird. I'm like, that just looks fucking weird. That looks stupid. Why would you do that? And I was talking to her one day. I said, I meant to ask. I said, out of all the tattoos, the Tweety bird just doesn't fit into what you've got. I said, what's that for? She goes, oh, my grandmother raised me and, my mother had passed away. So my grandmother raised me. My grandmother and I used to always sit down and watch the Tweety bird cartoon. And it used to make her just laugh hysterically. So when she passed away, just having that Tweety bird reminds me of my grandmother. So it's like, we can look at things on people and think they're stupid, but to them, maybe they have some meaning. So, I don't judge people on what they have or what they do. To me, it's like, if it's not hurting anybody else, fuck them.
Today,
Let people.
everybody's judging somebody on something,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like it's very very common. And at the end of the day, it's your body, it's your face.
Yeah. And like I said, if it's not hurting anyone, if you want to live your life a certain way, I say go for it. I'm not going to judge you. You want
I
to
just
be.
wanted your answer because I wanted to
Yeah.
know, like, why did you do it, but not because I like it or I approve it or I don't approve it. It's none of my fucking business. It's your face, it's your body, and you do as
Mhm.
you please. We all do some stuff that make no sense to other people, but it makes sense to us. I mean, I've done some stupid shit, and this interview is actually a blessing because I didn't have to do shit. We covered drugs, we covered trading, we covered competing. You did definitely not hold back. I
We'll
mean,
need, well,
I
we haven't,
think
and we still haven't touched on stuff. We could do a part 2, part 3, part
oh, we
4.
got to do part two because the funny thing is like now you got to be curious about men sucking dick. This is
No,
gonna
like I
go
said,
far.
it all feels the same in a dark room. It's like,
Was it very dark?
I could still see him, but that was probably the off-putting bit a little bit. But then I even had a friend say to me, "Well, why didn't you stop him?" I'm like, "Well, he was like doing." I said I didn't want to offend him, so I just let him do. They're like, "What? You didn't
You know
stop him?"
what? I lived in Israel, and so I speak Hebrew, and there's an Israeli movie, and in that movie there is a saying. I mean, a rough translation goes, "When your dick is hard, your ass is up your brain. Your brain is up your ass." There you
Yeah.
go. So it's very hard to translate. But the thing is like, listen, you're in a moment, you're enjoying it, good for you.
That's what I said. I was just in the moment. Like people go, well, you must be gay. I said, no, because ever since then, I've never thought about being with a man. I've never went, well, you know what? That felt good. Maybe when I'm finished training with Michael tomorrow, my training partner can suck my dick because it feels the same. I've never had those sort of thoughts or anything. It's just like it was in the moment. It fucking happened. I'm like, oh, whatever. It's one of those things that, you know, it happened. I can talk about it. I said, I don't give a shit. So I was like, yeah, whatever.
So for all you guys who are curious about this particular experience and many others, Lee Priest is going to be joining us at Apollon All-Star Seminar on October 7th. And this is pretty much confirmed. It's done. So Guy Cisterino is going to have some competition this year.
Right. I'm going to paint his nails there at the seminar.
You know, I have to start painting Lee's picture on the wall already because otherwise he's not going to.
Just paint over Guys. Just put it beside Guys.
So you don't think we need Guy? Okay. I mean, I don't know how he's going to take it. He might cry.
He cries every time he sees me because he loves me.
He already told me that when you come to New Jersey, he says that you're staying with him.
Yeah. You know, I have to send you that video. Did you see that video of when we're at Flex Lewis's gym and I put my leg up on him like a fitness model and give him a kiss on the cheek, and he's like, "Ooh, you got warm lips."
That sounds like Guy. Was the guy who was sucking your dick?
What's that?
Was that guy who was sucking your dick during that?
No, you know, if it was, I would out him. I'd say, "Come on, Guy, let's just come out the closet. Come on."
No, I mean, honestly, you know, when we posted about the fact that you're coming to Apollon Gym for the seminar, I think that was, I mean, all hell broke loose. I told you, like, my phone literally fucking exploded. Lee's coming. I mean, people are really looking forward to meeting you. I think that's volume about.
I said I enjoyed doing seminars. Like I
think that speaks volume about your legendary status. And you know what? Today they say legend this, legend that. This one is legendary. But the truth to be told is, you know, you competed in the era with Ronnie, I mean, fuck, you competed against Dory.
Well, the good thing is with Ronnie too, they always say, what was his worst thing in life? Remember when they said, was it Jay beating you? He goes, no, getting beat by Lee Priest was my worst moment in his bodybuilding history and stuff.
But the truth is, you did beat Ronnie Coleman. You did beat some of the greatest bodybuilders ever. And I think that, you know, the fact that you haven't been on stage for a couple of years now, and to see people getting so excited about the fact that you're coming to this small hardcore gym in Addison, New Jersey, it's mind blowing. I'm really impressed. I'm honored, and we can.
I'm thinking now, all the gays and the twinks might start turning up, going, "Oh, I might get lucky with Lee."
Flags and
bring me a box of donuts. You never know what might happen.
I'm personally going to bring you a box of donuts. It's really, really impressive to see. Even today, you know, you're with a supplement company, you're promoting the watch company. I mean, and I can see that you're very, very much involved in demand. And I think for a reason. The reason is because I think you're so outspoken. I think that people in general, we miss that because everybody's so politically correct and everybody's kissing each other's ass so much. Then when it comes to somebody actually telling the truth, I mean, the simple matter of the fact.
But like I said, you can tell the truth too and be harsh. It's like, depending on what podcast I'm on, I can be even like more outlandish or I can be normal. But to me, I've always just figured, just be yourself. If you're, like I said, yes, if you're going to judge me on political views, or to me, I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, I don't care what religion you are, what race you are. To me, I judge somebody on their character. If you're nice to me, I'm nice to you. So it's like, that's why I tell people, just be yourself. I don't like it when people act a certain way or they talk a certain way because they're like, well, if I don't say this or say that, they won't like me. But when I'm with them, I got to act different because this group won't like me. I'm like, listen, those people aren't worth being around. If you just can't be yourself, and like I said, as long as yourself isn't harming anybody else or doing anything else, just be true to yourself. And I said, it's a really good feeling to actually be free and to be yourself and know that people like you for you. They're not liking you because you're acting a certain way, and when you get home, you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired because I got to put this act on and shit. It's like, look, if you be yourself and be honest, people can see that and they'll respect that. I said, you don't have to be rude and this or whatever, but just be you, and people will like you for you. And I think sadly now with the internet and everything else, people trying to pretend, whether it be with their photos, they're trying to pretend to be something they're not or whatever because they're scared, like, if people really know the real me, they won't like me. I'm like, give it a go. If they don't like you, fuck them. Get new friends. They're not worth being around. So, it's just be you.
Another announcement that I guess we're going to make it here live right now. Well, live, this is recorded, but nevertheless. Lee Priest is going to be, he agreed to represent Apollon Gym brand. So you're going to expect to see Lee a lot more. You can expect to see a lot of Lee on our social media and answering your questions and sharing these.
And have my photo painted on the back of the toilet doors with a number, call now.
And that too. And so, guys, have your questions ready. Lee's coming to New Jersey. And on top of it, this is clearly part one because I didn't even get to talk shit that I wanted to talk shit about. Not about my experiences, but I promise next time. Lee, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being
thank
my
you.
first guest.
Like I said, I like just having.
I really enjoyed it.
I like just
Your
having.
stories are incredible.
Yeah, I just like having.
Incredible, and I know you have a lot to share with guys. And the fact is that whether it's good or bad or ugly, it doesn't really matter. At least you tell the truth, and this is something we totally
miss. And I think that's how people should be. That's why, like I said, with being associated with your gym, and I'll be doing the questions and that on Instagram and stories and that ask me anything. Like I said, it can be bodybuilding, it can be drugs, it can be diet, but it can be life. Look, I'm on my 5th marriage. I know a lot about relationships, the what's to do and what nots to do and everything. So if you have a question about anything, look, I've tried suicide a couple of times in my life. So if you're feeling down and you got questions about that or something, just fucking ask, because trust me, pretty much on every aspect of life, I've been there, done it, and I know what it's like. So if people have questions on anything, just ask and I'll give you an honest answer, and I'll always, like I said, be there and, like I said, talk to people. So I've had a lot of people who know tried to commit suicide, and I talk to them online and stuff, and I've helped them out because, like I said, sometimes people go, oh, that's a selfish thing and this and that. You look for signs. I said, when I did it the first time, I didn't. It was only that 2-hour period where I went down that fucking rabbit hole so deep that if I had done it, you would have said, fuck, yesterday he was so happy. And generally that's what happens. It can be just something that triggers it. And like I said, I had a friend, we were out for dinner one night. He's like, tomorrow Lee would do this, do that. He went home and killed himself. So I know where he went. You can go to a dark place where you just keep going. And like I said, luckily the first time I did it was with a knife. I went to slit my wrists, and, in the movies, fucking blood goes everywhere. I'm like, fuck, not deep enough. I had a shitty knife. So I stuck the knife back in the same cut. And because I stuck it back in the wound, it fucking stung that bad. I sort of snapped out of it. And I went, what the fuck am I doing? Called my mum up and said, you better come take me to the hospital. But I was thinking to myself, fuck, imagine if I had a gun. If I had a gun, it would have been boom. It wouldn't have been no second chance at trying to slash again. So I've been to those places. And like I said, people sometimes go, like I said, I wasn't, people say it's selfish, but like I said, I wasn't thinking about how's my mum going to react, how other people going to be if I kill myself. You just get to a place that's sort of so dark and you keep going down that rabbit hole that you're not thinking. I said, well, we're not really thinking rational, that's for sure. But like I said, years went past and I never thought about it again. So that's why sometimes when you hear people say, I'm going to kill myself, you break up with a girl or a guy. If you don't answer the phone, I'm going to kill myself, those people never do. Generally, the people, the ones that do it, were so shocked because we're like, fuck, he seemed like he was so happy and shit. As I said, it can just be that fucking spur of the moment decision that you make, and it's a bad one. But like I said, there are no signs. It could just be something that just triggers you off that could have built up, or it might just have come on. And like I said, and if you do it and you're successful, then everyone's left wondering, why did he do that? We're just talking to him yesterday. You're so happy. Like I said, because everyone always looks for these, we didn't see the signs, because generally people that do it, there are none. It's just a bad decision at that one moment in time that you make, and there's no coming back from it if you're successful.
Honestly, I'm grateful for you opening up like that. I never knew about this experience, but it just shows, some people need help, and the
Mhm.
only help they can get is from people who either experience what they experienced, or people that are honest with them. They're not going to
Yeah.
sugarcoat anything, and they're going to be transparent about life in
Mhm.
general, about things how they should be, instead of sugarcoating and blowing smoke up the ass.
Yeah.
So I really, really appreciate this,
Mhm.
Lee.
And
I
like
mean,
I said, the people always ask me about regrets in life. I said I've had a couple, like with my grandparents when I was in America, and I wouldn't talk to them on the phone because they wanted to talk bodybuilding, and I'm like, I don't want to talk about myself. And then like kick myself today because now they've passed away. I'm like, if I could pick up the phone now and talk to them, I would. But back then, I don't want to talk about myself. And another time was where I was married to Kathy, La Francois, a bodybuilder. We got on great. Me, I thought the grass was greener. I started seeing Adela Garcia cheating. I remember coming home and telling Kathy, I'm leaving you. I'm going to Adela. I just remember how devastated she was because we were in such a great relationship. And then, like I said, I thought the grass was greener. And just seeing how much I hurt her and devastated her by cheating, because I said she just out of the blue, I hit it. So, I've been through a lot of different things. And, when it comes to shit like that, I always tell people, I guess when you're young, sometimes you're dumb too. You think that grass is greener on the other side. Trust me, it's not. So if you've got a good woman, treat her well and be good to her because, there's always, like I said, you can have the most beautiful girl in the world. And at some point, you're going to be going, oh, she looks better. No, it's like I said, if you got a good one, treat her right. And I think, too, we get into that when we're in relationships where you'll chase a girl, you'll take her out, wine and dine, and you'll do this and do that. And I guess we're all guilty of it, that once you get into a relationship, you sort of let all that shit die down. You got to keep that magic alive somehow, whether it be a date night, go out and do something, just have fun. Never get stagnant in anything because if you do, it's like anything. You got to keep, the spice of life. I always tell people too, it's like finding that kid inside yourself. When you're a kid, everything was magical, everything was fun. As you get older, sure, we've got bills to pay and we see the reality of life. But yet, if you can just get out and find that kid in yourself and just, like I said, who gives a fuck if you want to go out and have fun and be stupid? I've act that way. People think I'm a nut. Who gives a fuck? If you're having fun, go out and fucking do it. Enjoy life. Who cares what people think of you? you know?
oh, that's the only way to do it, because you have to enjoy life. Life is short, and we
Mhm.
don't get many opportunities in life. But when we do,
Well,
I
so
think
now,
we
like
have to grab
now
it.
that I'm 50, it's like I remember when I was younger. My mum would always say, or when you're younger, you're like, I can't wait to be an adult. I think, fuck, if I could go back to being a kid again, you'd come home, dinner was ready, you didn't have to pay bills, there was no responsibilities. And my mum would say, as you get older, time goes quicker. You're like, oh yeah, sure it does. Like I said, I watch those videos now of when I was training, and that's 25 years ago. But in my mind, it feels like 7. I'm like, where the fuck did all those years go? It's like the universe that I did and won, that was 2013. That's almost 10 years ago, but yet it feels like maybe 4. So, yes, appreciate every day you got. And, sure, we complain about stuff. And I always tell people it's like, sometimes when you're feeling down, you think, oh, I'm a fucking loser, I'm a nobody. I always say, listen, maybe in the world you are a nobody, but to somebody you might be their world. So you just got to take things into perspective. I sometimes wake up and go, oh fucking hell, complaining. Fuck another day. I've got to do this and do that, and I'm thinking, what's wrong with me? I got a great life. I got the whole day ahead. Here I am complaining right now, and somebody's probably laying on their deathbed, taking their last breath,
Absolutely.
wishing they had more time. And here I am complaining that I have all the fucking time in the world. So, you got to sort of just be real and just appreciate what you have every day.
That's the
And
only way.
it's like I was saying the other day too with people.
Positive thinking is a must, because you know what? Sometimes
Definitely. And it's like I said
I
too,
always
even,
say, I'm bitching about I have to do this and I have to do that.
yeah.
My life is hard, and but then actually I said the same thing today to a friend of mine, where I said, you know what? I'm constantly bitching and complaining,
Mhm.
yet I love what I do. I
Yeah.
love what I do, and I love the challenges, and I love to challenge myself. And yes, I'll be 48 next month, and sometimes I'm like, fuck, I still feel like the kid,
Mhm.
20, 25 years ago. So time flies, and I think that that positive thinking and the drive and determination, they can never leave. You have to be
And
enthusiastic
and
about
I
it.
always say too, don't forget about friends and family because, like I said, we always take them for granted. Because I was guilty of it. I don't know how many times, like just for fun, I'll get bored and I'll get into arguments online with people, just on Instagram or Facebook. And I think to myself, you know what? haven't even spoke to my mum or text my mum this week, but I'm texting some fuckwit I don't know and arguing with. So I'm always like, listen, every day if you can. It doesn't take fucking 10 seconds just to send your friend or your wife or anyone a message just saying, thinking of you. Hope you have a good day. Just send it out there. Because I said, we'll all sit online, Facebook and Instagram, and write to people we don't know and just comment back and forth for hours. But yet the people who mean the most to us, we seem to neglect. So, yeah.
You know, you kind of triggered this in me, so I guess this is going to be kind of it's going to be a sad note to finish the show on, but at the same time, it will make sense just based on what you said.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing that my grandmother saw was me fighting with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Then she passed away, and I regretted it so badly. I still do, even though it's been years ago. I still do. My mom passed away in 2019, and you know what? We just had an argument again, just shortly before she passed away. And I found out in the morning that she passed away. But when I looked at my phone, she actually called me at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
I had no idea what that call was about. I was asleep, and there was no message or anything like that. And that just brings me back to what you just said. You know what? We end up with regret, and we end up, with these moments in our life that we cannot bring them back. So showing the loved ones appreciation, showing those that matter. There are not many people in life that truly appreciate us and that we truly appreciate as well. People that are close to us, people that actually matter the most. And we take them often for granted. And I think
they're the ones we seem to hurt the most too. And it's like I said, never go to bed angry.
And those are the people who actually give a shit about you, whether your arms are 22 inches or they look like
I've had arguments with my wife, not major ones, but little ones, and I go to bed and I lay there, and you feel like you can't sleep. But even if I'm in that angry mood, I'll say I love you and then go to sleep, because you never want to go to bed angry or have like some bad ill thought or stuff. I say, yeah, we're all going to have arguments and stuff, but still, sometimes it's pride or ego. It's like you want to have the last say, or you want to win this argument. Just let it go. It's like, it ain't worth it in the end. It's like, so you can argue till the cows come home if you want. I'm right or you're right. It's like, let's just agree to disagree and move on, type of thing. So, yeah, but like I said, we write to so many people. Like I said, I'm the same. When I wouldn't talk to my grandparents on the phone, I would give anything now to talk to them, if they could call up and stuff. And, yeah, like I said, the ones who are really there, who will be there for you, are generally sometimes the ones we treat the worst or neglect, or because I think it's too, because you think they're always going to be there, your mum, your dad, or your brothers or sisters or whoever, they're always going to be there. So you sort of take them for granted and you never say, how you going, thinking of you and stuff like that. But like I said, you'll sit there for hours writing to people you've never met or get into arguments online with people when it only takes a couple of seconds just to tell a loved one, thinking of you. Even if you put in your notes, copy and paste it so you don't have to type it every day, or even just send the love heart emoji, just something,
So, guys, on this lovely note, we went from drugs to sex to training to more drugs to more sex to even more sex, and then we finish on a very emotional but very good message. And like I said, make sure to tell loved ones that you love them, that you care about them, and do it often, just like Lee said. And on October 7th, if you can make it to Edison, New Jersey, come and meet Lee. Ask him anything you want. And
I'm coming all the way from Australia. They can come to the gym there. You'll be surprised. I've gone to England, and go to England takes a day's travel, 24 hours. And let's just say I go to a place called Cardiff in England. I'm going to a gym. Someone writes to me, Lee, are you coming to Leeds? I said, no, I'm going to Cardiff. They're like, oh, that's a shame. That's 2 hours from me. I'm like, listen, fucker, I just flew halfway around the world. You can drive fucking 2 hours to come see me.
Exactly. But and just like I said, you'll be able to reach out to Lee on Apollon Gym Instagram, and you'll see a lot of Lee. So I want to thank Lee for this interview.
Thank you,
Robert Chinatsky. Thank you so much for this, and for putting together this great podcast. Really appreciate your friendship. You can pop out any minute. And guys,
You
on
saw
this note, and there he is.
There
On
he
this
is. Hi,
note,
Robert.
thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Lee. And
Thank you. Thank you very much.
thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you.